Hey everyone. Okay, so I'm sorry that I'm doing another video on my webcam. I know the quality of my webcam is the pits, um, but my regular camera battery just died. I was trying to film a video on how to make wool longies from recycled sweaters, and it died right in the middle of it. So, like you can see, my camera's set up right here next to me, and so the battery's dead. But I have time to work on videos right now. Noah's playing quietly and nicely in the playroom, um, so I can see him and he's content. And while he's content and while he's happy, I'm trying to get a few things done. Um, the quicker I can get this done, the quicker I can get supper started, the quicker I can get supper started, the quicker I can get him fed and then into the bed. And so, yeah. Anyways, I don't remember which video it was I did. I think it was Did Their Lives Have a Purpose? Speaking about child loss. And I believe it was that video. Somebody asked me if I would do a video on the things to say and the things to do when someone close to you has experienced a loss. And, you know, when somebody experiences a loss, and it's not you, and it may be your best friend or your sister-in-law or your cousin or, you know, whoever, a coworker, you know, finding the words to say to somebody who has experienced a loss is a difficult thing. I went through 2 losses and I still have a hard time coming up with the right things to say. And that's simply because there is no right thing to say. Nothing that you say or do is going to make that person feel any better. I mean, honestly, nothing you say or do is going to take the pain away from that person. Nothing you say or do is going to make their journey through grief any shorter. But your gestures do mean a lot. Even though right there in the moment, somebody may not think, oh, that was a really sweet thing that they said or did, but maybe a year later or 2 years later or even a few months later, they might look back and say, gosh, that was really nice of that person to say to me, or that was really nice for that person to do that for me. It was only a few months ago that I had looked back at, you know, things that happened after my loss. After I had my losses, like, everybody disappeared. Everybody disappeared. It was like I was some type of taboo, and people were afraid to talk to me. People, they just weren't there. They weren't around. However, this lady that I worked with, now I didn't know she had lost a child at the time. After I had lost Carly, I found out that she too had lost a child who was in the NICU for a few months. And she came over. She was the only person who came to visit me to see how I was doing. She came several times. I was at home recovering from a C-section, so, you know, I was depressed and, you know, whatnot. But she was the only person that came over to visit. And at the time, I didn't really think nothing of it. And I think at the time, I was kind of like, well, what do I say to you? Well, what are you doing here? When really she was just here to comfort me and just be a body. Just be somebody to keep me, keep my spirits lifted. She was here talking, just shooting the breeze with me. And looking back, I really, I'm just so thankful that she took the time out of her day to come be with me during that horrible, horrible time in my life. So you never know what you say or do, how it's going to affect somebody later down the road. But let me get on to it. The first thing I would say that you should do is to listen. Listen before you speak. If you don't know what to say, I would suggest not saying anything, honestly. So if you can just listen, that's one of the best things you can do. I can promise you that a parent who has lost their child wants to talk about their child. They they need to talk about their children. It's a healthy part of the healing process. Um, so if you are near somebody, just pick up the phone and say, hey, I was thinking about you. How are you doing? You know, would you like to go get some coffee? Would you like to go out to eat? And if they don't want to go out to eat, that's fine. If they don't want to go out for coffee, that's fine. They may not feel like it. And that's totally normal. But just, you know, say, hey, would you like to talk? Is there something you'd like to talk about? You know, I'm here to listen if you just want to talk about anything. So that's one thing that you can do. The second thing you can do is speak of their baby's name often. Now, I know sometimes when you have miscarriages, you haven't actually named the baby, but don't forget about that person, and don't forget about the experience that person went through. That person was pregnant. That person was carrying a child. So if you get the chance to mention their pregnancy in a positive way, mention it. When you're speaking to somebody who had a child who lived for a little while, or a child who was stillborn, their children normally have names, and it's important that you speak their child's name. I can tell you one of the hardest things for me is people not speaking about my children. 99.9% of people do not mention my daughters anymore. They just don't. I have had people exclude them from, you know, talking about, like, my mother-in-law was asked how many grandchildren she had, and she says, I have two granddaughters and a grandson. Well, the two granddaughters she was talking about was my husband's brother's children, and then the grandson was our son Noah. But she has 4 granddaughters because Carly and Hannah are her granddaughters too, yet they're just not here. So it's just things like that that kind of bothered me. So definitely when you get a chance to mention their children's name, do that. Mention it often. That helps the person who's experienced the loss know that their children's lives are important, and that their name will continue to live on regardless if they're here with us or not. You can also cook a meal for somebody who's just experienced a loss. When you experience a loss, you don't have the energy or the desire to get up and cook. Sometimes it's hard just to get out of the bed. So preparing a meal for somebody is a wonderful gesture. If you prepare a meal that is just an easy throw in the oven for 10 minutes and pull out and ready to eat, that's great. But I really say it's better if they don't have to do anything at all. If you take it over there nice and steaming hot and ready to go. They may not eat it, but they may. You know, I didn't cook after my losses for a long time. I didn't eat. I was depressed. But I think maybe if somebody would have brought me a meal, I would have probably ate it. Send a card. Send a card in the mail with your condolences. Send a card in the mail the following week to say, hey, I'm just thinking about you. And leave it short and sweet. In a month, send them another card. On their birthday, send them a card. Send them cards often. It helps them to know that their baby's not forgotten. Send flowers. That's a nice thing you can do. If you can send flowers for the funeral service or memorial service, that's great. Send flowers to the home. And like I mentioned earlier, where people were just disappearing, don't disappear. Don't be the person to run away from the situation. The situation's not going to go away, so don't run away from it. Be there for your friend, your sister, your coworker. Be there for that person when they need you the most. They may appear to be pulling away from you, but you make sure you stay there for them for whenever they are ready to come to you. When you don't know what to say, don't say anything at all. And if they want to talk about their baby, listen to them. If they start to talk about their baby, don't interrupt them. Just let them speak about their baby. And then if there's a pause or a break in the conversation, ask them a question about their baby. Well, if their baby lived, say, what were some of your favorite moments? Or what were some moments that made you smile? You know, just things like that. If their child was stillborn, you could say, well, what were the best parts of your pregnancy? And, you know, when did you first feel the baby kick? And, you know, if they want to talk, let them talk and encourage the talking. Also, they said they had asked what were some good things to do for birthdays and stuff. So for birthdays and for I call them angelversaries, which is the date that the baby passed away. Every year, or especially the first year, that first year when it's been a whole year that the baby's been gone is one of the hardest times, I believe. So a great thing to do besides sending cards is maybe find some jewelry that has their child's name on it, or something that is symbolic of the child or pregnancy that's been lost. So jewelry is a great keepsake, especially necklaces where parents can wear their baby's name, or even if some moms might buy a locket that they can keep ashes. If they've had their baby cremated, they can keep it next to their heart. And lastly, don't be afraid that you are going to remind somebody of the pain that they've went through. Say somebody went through a loss 1 or 2 years ago, and you're afraid to mention their baby's name because you're afraid that you're going to remind them of their pain or remind them of their loss. Trust me, they haven't forgot, and they're never going to forget. So nothing you say or do is going to, ding, hey, I remember I had a loss. It doesn't work like that. So I would suggest, just mention their name often. Talk about it. Don't be afraid to mention their child or their experience. If somebody doesn't feel comfortable talking to you, or doesn't feel comfortable talking about the situation in general, that's okay. Over time, most people do get comfortable with talking about it. So yeah, those are some of the things that I can think of off the top of my head. I kind of jotted them down so that I wouldn't leave anything out. And if you've been through a loss and you're watching this video and there's some things that you could add to this video, some suggestions, leave them in a comment below so that anybody who is watching this for advice on what to say, they can find other ideas down below. So yeah, there's a lot of things that I could tell you not to say, but I'm not going to have this video be about that. So yeah, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave those below, and I hope this helps somebody. Thanks. Bye, guys.